Hey everyone, I'm Peter Mancuso.
And I'm Brian Koch.
And this is our countdown to Coco. I almost said Coco to Countdown.
Coco.
This is our Coco to Countdown.
You're Coco for Coco Puffs.
I am Coco for Coco Puffs, where we watch every Disney, Pixar, theatrically released film in order in preparation for their 19th film that's coming out this November. The Coco.
The Coco, of course.
And today we have made it. This is a milestone, everybody. We've made it to the 10th. 10
Double digits.
Double digits. We've made it to one of the most renowned Pixar films ever. The first Pixar film to receive an Academy Award nomination for Best Picture. Not Animated Picture, Best Picture. And it's called The Up. It's The Up, everybody. Not The Down. Not The Series of Unfortunate Events. It's
that
The
was
Up.
a little random, but
well,
okay.
it's like it actually has a The in the title. Oh, no, it doesn't.
A series of unfortunate events.
Well, it has an article.
Boy, okay. Let's just keep going here.
Let's just dive in.
So yeah, like, as you said, the first Pixar film to receive a nomination for Best Picture at the Oscars, which is a huge deal. Because before that, only one animated film had ever been nominated for Best Picture, and that's Beauty and the Beast. So this is only the second one, and the first
18 years
CGI
later.
animated film. Yes. So, quite a big deal.
Yeah, definitely. So we kind of talked about it last episode, but why do you think, apart from the quality, why do you think it was nominated? Because there's been plenty of worthy animated films to be nominated before, but why this one?
Well, okay, so
we touched on it before, but I just want to
we touched on it before, so like we can say like, oh well, you know, because before when they did the awards, like everyone thought that WALL-E and Dark Knight should have gotten Best Picture, and then as it turned out, the next year Nolan had another movie, Inception, and Pixar had another movie, Up, and they both got Best Picture.
Inception was the
like,
next year.
Sorry. Well, no, Inception was the next year. But like
even
you know
so,
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's still like the next movie that Nolan made is what I meant. So like you could say, oh, it's just because, but like no, like for both of them, it's because they're really good movies, is what I would say. And the reason why they would look to Up, I guess, is like there's something about it. Feels very sort of like abstract and stylistic and kind of surrealist, and it's not hyper specific in the way that just in the sense of the adventure and like the really like kind of creative out there ideas that they come up with, whereas something like The Incredibles is like, I suppose, a bit hyper specific for the Academy, and something like
so this is, you're saying like why
this is why like why like
I'm curious to hear about how it's
logistically.
Abstract.
How it's abstract.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's definitely like I mean like surreal is the main word that I would use, but abstract definitely in terms of like all the metaphors that are going on here for sure.
Oh, so dealing with abstract concepts, but the film isn't abstract.
It's not like, well, you know, it's not like a completely abstract film in the sense that it's like it's not about three dots.
Well, I mean, everything on the screen is actually supposed to be in the story. It's not
right. But like, still, it has many surreal elements, and they sort of tie together in unlikely ways. And I think.
What do you mean by surreal?
I think like what, like a house flying through the air isn't surreal. Talking dogs aren't surreal.
That's more charming than it is.
I think it's pretty
surreal.
All right.
Because when you use the word surreal, I think like David Lynch, Salvador Dali. Oh. This is more like a kind of a like charming visual of a house being lifted by these balloons, very beautifully so. I would say this is one of the better cinematography of one of the Pixar films.
Yeah.
Like it feels very much like it was. I don't mean cinematography. I like. We talked about with the other ones how they were shot, quote unquote.
Right.
And like I think some of the other ones do it better. Like in round 2 we had to have like a lot of the handheld stuff.
The camera work.
But I mean, the camera work. But in terms of cinematography, like every frame being like a painting, like I think this does it really well.
Well, what's interesting, like while we're on the subject of cinematography and shot composition, this was the first Pixar movie to be released in Disney digital 3D.
I remember that, seeing it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So it had like and they make it that way. It's no post conversion like crud.
Well, I mean, there really is no such thing as animated post conversion, is there? Because like.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, there can be. If you like, well, what they did is when they animated it, they had like an actual division that was dedicated to making it so, okay, so then the depth in this shot, it's going to work like that. This is like the figurative camera, like within the computer, and this is going to be like a simulation of the effect. Whereas some like low rent animation studio would just be like, no, all right, well, hit the magic 3D button and there we go.
Okay, yeah.
You know, Like this, like it's made for 3D.
I would assume it's easier to make an anime movie 3D because you're already dealing with the depth anyway. Like you can control it.
Oh well, animated
as opposed to like a film. Like if you're trying to do post, like it's a flat image already, and you try to now make it 3-dimensional, whereas it's already like you can move through that space in the computer.
There's a reason why animated films are what looks best in.
Which is probably why Avatar looked so good.
Exactly
like,
what I was going to get to. Because, like, whether it's animated or, like, CGI heavy. Yeah, right? Same year, yeah. No, this would have been before Avatar, actually.
Earlier in the year, yeah.
Earlier in the year, yeah. So, like, Avatar, of course, then. But then, like, I think the main movies...
Oh, wait, wait, hold on.
What?
I just want to... That's really interesting. Because most people credit... Not to say that this is the
Avatar
reason,
with the start of...
But they were doing it before that. Not to say that Up was the real originator. Because people are right with saying the reason why it became so popular was because of Avatar.
Sure.
But why? What was Disney's reason for it?
Well,
to start doing it. You know what I mean? They did Toy Story that fall. Mm-hmm. Right, the two Toy Stories back to back in the fall in 3D. I remember seeing that.
Yeah,
right. It was in 3D.
Yeah, that was the Toy Story and Toy Story 2. 3D
but before the Avatar
in October.
But before the Avatar craze, I wonder what their reasoning was. Maybe they just had foresight, like Avatar's gonna be really big. And it's gonna be in 3D.
That wasn't their first time doing Disney digital 3D. Up is the first Pixar movie to have Disney digital 3D. Chicken Little had 3D. Disney digital 3D screenings. Bolt
really?
Had Disney digital. I think Meet the Robinsons did too. It must have if it was in between though. But yeah, no, they've been dabbling in it for a while. Of course, like it took theaters a little while to catch up. But I do remember seeing at least Bolt in 3D. I didn't see Chicken Little. I remember they even had like, oh, there's like a bonus scene you could come like after the credits, like only in the 3D version. Like they're really like pushing it. But yeah. So this is the first time that then Pixar did it, and probably like the films most associated with 3D that like people like still talk about. Of course, Avatar. How to Train Your Dragon comes up a lot. Again, animated and like very colorful, and like this maybe. And like also like
goes all at the same time.
Alice in Wonderland in 2010 like also benefited from being like the first big budget 3D movie after Avatar.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And that also has a lot of CGI, of course. So okay, yeah. So that's the 3D. So there's a lot of firsts associated with this movie. First Best Picture, first 3D, first lead Asian character in a Pixar movie.
Is he Asian? I wasn't sure.
He's Asian.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if he was. Yeah. Okay.
Russell is Asian.
I didn't know if he was just animated, and because he was a cartoon character, like he was just had like different like characteristics. I was like, I didn't know if he was like definitely Asian. So that's Disney confirmed.
Yes, Disney Pixar confirmed.
Okay, very cool.
Very cool. So, and this is this is a bit more of a specific one, but this I believe is the first time that a Pixar director used a different composer than one that they had done before.
Oh.
Pete Docter for Monsters, Inc. used Randy Newman, who had been doing all the Pixar movies up to that point, but he used Michael Giacchino this time. And this is I believe the first Pixar movie to win for Best Original Score. And it's a magnificent score.
Really? Best score? Because before it had been like Best Song.
Yeah, they had gotten Best Song before.
Okay.
But yeah, this is the first that won Best Original Score. And yeah, it's terrific in the sense that it both is able to capture sort of the grandeur of the adventure, but also the tenderness of the emotional moments. So it really has a lot of variety in it, and yeah, it's perfect throughout. It's really a fantastic score. Mm-hmm. Up there with their best. Up there. Okay, so let's I guess just like dive into the story. This abstract story.
This very abstract story about very concrete things.
Very concrete things, like the fact that an old man ties a bunch of balloons to his house for.
That's concrete. That's not abstract.
Yeah, I mean, no, I know it's like technically concrete.
Like I would say, like the stuff in Ratatouille is like someone he's showing like the flavors. That's like an abstract part of the film.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. It's just like surreal is more the word that I would like hang my hat on.
But I'm still hung up on that. What is that? What is that? Like, I don't think you're using the word surreal correct. Like it's like
I'm not using it correctly.
Like if this were actually happening in real life, you may use that colloquially, like, oh, that's surreal, as in like it's hard to believe. But surrealism in film or art doesn't really mean this.
This doesn't feel like surreal at all to you. It's just
it feels very grounded in its own reality.
Well, when you throw out David Lynch, like that's really kind of that's
surrealism.
Well, of course that's surrealism.
That's Salvador Dali. Isn't he the melting clock guy?
David Lynch,
the melting clock guy.
David Lynch is in his own category of surrealism. Most movies don't ascribe to anywhere
But surrealism is more about bending the reality.
Okay.
Not so much the
I understand.
Like because it feels no, this is a comedy movie. Okay. It feels very grounded in its own reality.
It does. But just in the sense of, like, I don't know, like, you never get the sense when you're watching it just in, like, how many different elements are coming together, like...
Oh, I'm thinking about that all the time.
Yeah.
And how it doesn't work.
Oh, okay. Wow. Coming right out there, swinging and saying that.
I am thinking about how there's all these elements.
All right. So tell me what are some of these elements that you feel don't work. Or if you prefer to talk about the ones that you do think work, or what they should have focused on. I know this and then get into what you feel is...
Yeah. So, I want to give some context for my thoughts. So, this is actually only the third time I've ever seen this film, which I even thinking about it is really weird.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I just never got around to. So I saw it in theaters, and loved it.
Did you see it in Disney Digital 3D?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that was one of the first times I saw a movie in 3D. Yeah, not ever, but like.
Yeah.
With the glasses, those glasses.
Mm-hmm.
I may have seen some cheap gimmicky movie with the red and blue.
Oh, like Journey to the Center of the Earth or something.
Maybe it wasn't that movie, but maybe
I remember
Spy
I saw
Kids
that
3,
with
maybe.
the red blue. I didn't see Spy Kids or.
I can't remember if I saw that in theaters. I definitely had it on DVD that came with glasses.
Okay.
And I would watch that all the time. So I thought it was so cool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
But anyway, so I saw it in theaters and loved it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what was I in 2009? 12.
2009. Yeah. May 29th, 2009.
Yep. So I was 12. And then I did not see it again. I just never got around to either watching it. Not even, I keep talking about this show, how I would watch some of these in the background, on the computer. Not even this one. I must have, maybe ABC Family wasn't playing it, or maybe I just
probably
was missing
didn't
it.
Have it. It'll
had
take
the rights yet.
Well, not had the rights, but it takes 2 years for it to show up on. So or at least it did at the time.
So I don't know why. I just never even watched it peripherally. So I didn't really watch it again in a proper manner until my spring semester freshman year, so that was 2016, so 7 years later, almost 7 years later.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I was watching it on my laptop. My mom had a copy of it. She bought it for her class to watch because she's a teacher. And I was like, oh, yeah.
What would she show, the whole movie or just the beginning?
Probably the whole movie because, she teaches, nursing to high school students.
Oh, I see.
To take, their CNA exam. These are kids, who, and she probably showed it to them. She really likes this. She probably showed it to them probably because a lot of the kids deal most of the things they do is they'll go to nursing homes.
Oh, I see.
So probably showing this idea of priority of needs and most of my this is very off topic, but she also showed Ratatouille.
Oh yeah.
For the reason I'll explain why in a second. But anyway, so she probably shows this because I guess there's something called category of needs. And there's different categories of certain kinds of needs. There's emotional needs, physical needs. Yeah. And so we showed this movie also because it's an old man. It's a fun movie that you can show in a high school with an old person, and they're going to nursing homes constantly. She would show Ratatouille because she was talking about assessing a situation, and she shows the scene where he falls into the kitchen for the first time, and the danger, and assessing the danger of a situation.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm you really stretched that one, but I love Ratatouille. She was like, "Can I borrow Ratatouille?" I was like, "By all means, borrow Ratatouille. Show all these kids Ratatouille."
Yeah.
But anyway, so she had this copy.
Okay.
So I was when I went home, that was for Christmas break. I saw she had it. So when I went to the spring freshman year, I was like, I'm gonna bring this to school and watch it. So I watched it on my crappy laptop, and really didn't enjoy it.
Not in Disney Digital 3D.
It was not in Disney Digital 3D. It was in Disney DVD 2D on my 480p
was
laptop.
it at least enhanced with Disney's Fast Play?
It was not.
Oh my god.
Or maybe it was.
Why do you even bother?
I don't know. I would have to look at the box. So.
Okay.
I didn't really dig it. I was a little surprised because this was one of those a 90 whatever
98
98 Rotten Tomatoes nominated first picture movie nominated for Best Picture. Loved it when I first saw it. So it was kind of one of those movies I hadn't seen in years, but I just assumed I really like this movie. And I watched it and I didn't really dig it. And I was like, that's weird. I wonder if it's the circumstances of my watching it. It is on my laptop in my room,
right.
I'm sitting on my bed, with headphones on, my roommate's in the room, maybe this is why.
Yeah.
Right? And I didn't watch it again until tonight. The third time. And I think I liked it more than that time.
Okay.
But as opposed to the second time when I watched it, I was, confused. Now
this time you were certain in your
assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Like,
not that I don't like it, but I'm more confident and certain in how I felt.
You had expressed to me prior about how, like, you weren't really digging it when you revisited it initially. But I still don't, like, and I'm not even sure if you really knew exactly why. So, like, why, like, what is it about it?
I think it's and I don't say this to be like it's a bad movie, but there's a lot. I think there's a lot of reasons.
Okay.
For me, I think, you know, this is the very cliche thing to say about Up.
No, well, start it there.
Like, I don't know how long it is, because it's not just the montage part. Basically, the beginning to once Russell comes into the picture.
Oh, the knock.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't mean the knock once he lifts up. I mean, like, the first time he ever meets Russell.
Oh, that early. Okay.
Yeah. From the beginning to there, I'm really in it. In fact, I was kind of shocked and excited when we were watching it, how into it I was. Yeah. Like, I was looking at you, like, all the jokes were landing. I was, like, laughing, like, really hard and, like, really getting into it. And I know it's the cliche thing to say, like, the first 10 minutes of Up is the best.
They're great.
But I would have to agree that is the best part.
Yeah. It is interesting how, like...
I'm not just trying to say the montage.
No,
I think people always say, the montage, because it's... And then some people say, oh, it's emotionally manipulative. I don't think it's emotionally manipulative.
Oh, God.
As much as I say about a lot of things, I'll be like, oh, that... But I don't think it was. I think... Because people just think about it as the montage, but I think from the beginning all the way to that bit, I'm completely in it with Carl. What were you going to say? I interrupted you.
I was just going to say, interesting how 2 Pixar movies in a row, WALL-E and this, there's a vocal group of people who are like, the beginning is the best, and then it, like...
Yeah. WALL-E more so, because that's what would you say, like 25 minutes of the movie?
Like 35 minutes.
Yeah, whereas with this, how long would you say that this bit is? What I'm describing?
For what you're describing, that's probably
15?
like 15 minutes, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to be like, oh, did that 2-minute great scene that sucks. Like, I'm giving it like a fair shake. Like the first 15 minutes I'm really into. And not necessarily because I don't like Russell, but for some reason once he's introduced, it's the beginning of what I would call a long line of things that I guess fit, but I'm not super on board with them being there. That being the least unfitty.
And so then it keeps getting more and more.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we get the kid, we get the kid. That makes sense, I guess, because this idea of like the
letting someone else into your life.
Oh, I'm just talking about very specific.
Very specific, like literally just like
how justified
objective sense.
Because with WALL-E,
yeah,
we talked about, I got like frustrated with like the thematic. I thought it was thematically uncohesive, but it makes sense with the humans being there.
Yeah, okay.
But with this, I'm talking just pure specifics, like how well does it actually fit into the narrative?
Right.
With the kid coming in, like I guess it makes sense because like he'd be knocking on the door. Does he know him?
Russell?
Yeah. No. So how does he know his name is Mr. Fredrickson? Does he say I'm Carl Fredrickson?
I
know because he has a line, please, Mr. Fredrickson, let me in, when they're up in the sky. So how does he know his name?
He might just have like some sort of like registry or like phone book of like different like addresses with like the name
maybe.
On it.
I'm not gonna be super nitpicky about that.
I don't believe that they would have ever met before. They definitely don't come off as if they did.
So it begs the question. So not to beg the question. So he goes and he's knocking and he needs the elderly badge and he's like, okay, whatever. How the kid ends up on the house? Like, did he hang on from the bottom? Because like, for start, I wouldn't think this is a nitpick. I think it's just a little plain like we see the front porch of the house multiple times in this montage of the house flowing through the city, and he's not there. So unless he's hiding under the house, but then we see the bottom of the house. So I'm not really sure where he was hiding.
Yeah.
I'm okay, and I can suspend my disbelief. I'll bring this. I'll cite this probably more, but I think a reason why some of this doesn't work is like, you know me, like I'm a very goofy, like I like if things like don't necessarily make logical sense, but like I appreciate how out there it is.
Yeah.
For me in this movie, and I'll get to the specific things later, for me in this movie, it doesn't necessarily work because it has such a grounded emotional opening.
I see.
Where like basically you've set me up for a certain kind of tone. What, like if you just show me just the opening, let me take the opening what I described as the opening a little earlier, and we do end it like once Ellie dies. if you then said this movie will feature a chubby, annoying, and in the world of the story, I'm not trying to say.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
A chubby, annoying, essentially what, like a Cub Scout, Boy Scout.
Yeah, a wilderness explorer.
A large, colorful bird, and an army of dogs, and some kind of blimp climax.
They show the dogs in the newsreel.
That's true, but I mean, I'm talking more. Let's say
I know what you mean. Of course,
if you had said that, I would be like, "What? No!" Like, it didn't feel like I was set up for that movie. We're gonna make a lot of puns. Jeez. I didn't feel like I was
all inadvertent.
Yeah, I'm not trying. I felt like I wasn't set up for that movie.
Okay.
So again, like, I'm someone like who would like something that zany and ridiculous, but the movie you've set up for me. This isn't the criticism I'm trying to give, but this is a cool thing that I just want to share. I'm reading a book right now by Walter Murch, the famous editor and director, and sound designer. He's a super cool guy. If you've never heard of Walter Murch, look him up. And he has this book that I have to read for class called In the Blink of an Eye. And it's like slowly redefining how I look at movies. Like, it's so insightful, but he's so
not in the blink of an eye.
Not slowly, in the blink of an eye. Slowly, because okay. But he has this thing about how movies, when you're editing them, this isn't the criticism I'm trying to make of the movie.
Okay.
I'm going to draw a similar principle.
Sure.
He talks about when you're editing a movie, how it's important to, like, know what the movie is or what you want it to be, and how editing is very much like DNA, and how, like DNA, like my DNA and a chimp's DNA is the same. It's similar, but just has different instructions in it. You know, like if the DNA was making a chimpanzee and then halfway through decided it wanted to make a human. You know what I mean? Like when you're making a movie, like you shouldn't be editing it, and you're making it on set, and then on set you're making a fun comedy, then you realize it's actually a drama. Like, you should just stick with the comedy because you already made half of it as a comedy. What I'm trying to draw from that principle is, like, you've set me up for one kind of movie, and then, like, you kind of, like, change the DNA of it in a sense. Like, you set me up for this super, like, not saying that the whole movie needs to be sad and depressing, but you've set, like, a certain tone. But there was nothing that zany, except for maybe the newsreel opening, but even then I'd be like, that part kind of bothers me, but then I forget about it because I'm so into Ellie and Carl, to be honest. And I'll get to the forgetting about that in a second. But so even though there is some zany stuff, there's nothing really zany to that level in the opening. You know? Whereas with Toy Story or something, for example, random example, right? Like, the zaniness is consistent throughout. Like, it doesn't kind of start.
No, I know what you're saying.
So that's kind of an issue, but I'll go back to the specific things. But that's kind of a big thing, I think, is that it goes places that I would be into going to all these crazy places if you had set me up for a movie like that, but you set me up for such a oh my god, this is like such like fearless filmmaking, and like you have such a mastery over the craft, and now we have talking dogs. Okay, I get it. But
like, when you say mastery of the craft, do you just mean in the sense of how emotionally grounded it is, or just like how it's actually crafted?
That the cinematic techniques are really strong.
Okay.
Like
I think they remain strong throughout. That's the thing. So, but like,
I'm talking about the specific elements.
Okay.
Like, do you think the talking dogs is a strong cinematic element?
A strong,
like in terms of the filmmaking, a strong element. Like a strong cinematic element in the sense of using the form in an expert way to tell your story.
Well,
by nature of that just being a plot element, it can't be. That's not a disqualification.
Exactly. Like, so I inherently can't say that it's a cinematic element. So like it's a narrative element. So I don't really know how to answer the question.
But it's not. But those scenes like that, those are scenes you could be having where you're using expert cinematic techniques. But it's more just like we're just showing these dogs doing things, like cutting here, cutting here. Like, I'm not gaining anything emotionally from these dogs. I'm not, and even you, who can find some kind of thematic twinge to everything. I want you to try to defend
the dogs
in a thematic sense.
In a thematic sense, sure. I'll defend.
Please do.
Okay, so we have this whole idea. Like, let's lay a little foundation first. And I want to address.
Can I lay a ground rule for this explanation? Right. It can't be. I'm disqualifying the idea of. I don't know if you would use this, but this is. You can't say it's like Charles Muntz. Is that his name, Charles Muntz?
It's Charles Muntz.
Charles Muntz, like how Carl's distanced himself from everybody, so too is Charles. So he only has dogs now.
No, I wouldn't say that.
and also I really want it to be more about the dogs and not Charles's relationship with the dogs. No. Because therefore, if that's the case, then why couldn't it have been something else? Is my question. Mm-hmm. Okay, so to explain the dogs.
So first let me address some of the things you were bringing up with the whole it sets me up for a certain. But I need to. But if I don't address it now, then I never will. So you're talking about how it sets us up for a certain atmosphere, a certain movie. But I feel like it gives us of course it has the really then sort of personal and grounded opening, so of course excellently done. The married life montage is great. No dialogue, everyone goes on and on about it. I don't want to then overstay my welcome on this segment because it's just universally regarded as great. But it's just through the visual storytelling of it, the repetition and difference, the stuff everything from washing the windows, going up that hill, to that the church they get married in is the same one that the funeral is at. It's all so perfect. But anyway, all of the stuff, once we get into, all right, here's the boy, and we're going to Paradise Falls, and there's Kevin, there's the snipe, and the duck. I feel like it sort of gracefully eases us into this other world, and by virtue of which I would refer to
it doesn't get zanier and zanier. I can kind of accept the kid.
I would say the scene in which he takes flight feels very then just sort of wow and wondrous, and it's sort of okay, we're starting to get for lack of a better term, surreal or fantastical. How about fantastical?
That works a little better.
Is that better for you? Okay. So we're starting to dive into the fantastical, and it's slowly then starting to happen, and that because then first you get the house, then you get the scenery, then you start to get some of the environment, some of what lives here, and then you finally then get the dogs. I think it really then eases you into it, and you know what I would say, I really then felt perhaps more than any other Pixar movie up to this point, it felt very Miyazaki. It felt very Studio Ghibli. I can't quite put my finger on why.
I wouldn't say that level, but now that you say, I totally see.
It's something because I'm thinking about something Spirited Away.
They'll just have. I never seen Spirited Away, but not to finish your thought, but from what I've heard, they'll be very random. This person is a pig person, but just because or whatever.
Sort of basically in the sense that Spirited Away posits this idea of this family and this girl and sort of the relationships he has with her parents, and it sort of sets you up with that, and then you're in this crazy fantastical world. Of course, Spirited Away is.
Would you say that even if those crazy things aren't in the beginning, would you say that it leaves room for it? Because I feel with this, it doesn't open up a room, open room for the zaniness that it's going to take place. But even if there's not crazy fancy things happening in the beginning of Spirited Away, would you say that leaves it open for it? Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I think Spirited Away. Sort of it still doesn't telegraph any of it, but it's sort of open and ambiguous enough, and sort of we're entering this location that we don't really then understand. It's ambiguous enough that you could then just sort of be okay, but it is still grounded in the beginning.
Yeah.
But anyway, obviously, Spirited Away isn't as much of not a linear. As much of a linear.
Oh, okay, not as cause and effecty.
Not to say it jumps.
It is linear, right?
Time. It's linear, but it's more anecdotal.
Meandering.
That's what I'm trying to say. Not meandering, anecdotal.
Okay, sure.
Episodic.
Episodic is the word.
Episodic, yeah. So it's more so, but still in the sense of it has all of these kind of disparate unique crazy elements that it's pulling in, and it all has sort of a grounded core. Although I feel Up. It's more than emphasis on that grounded core, and that's sort of the difference. But yeah. So okay. So then, having addressed all of that, let's get into the dogs. So I think you're not alone in this being something that I think distance
really
from the
I never heard. All I've heard is universal acclaim for this. I thought I'm the sole person. I don't want to be this way. I don't walk into this wanting to be the one person. So are there others?
My dad.
Really? Okay.
My dad is good mood, but I fall asleep when the dogs come in. I can't the dogs. But the way I sort of see the dog, and I'm just gonna start talking about. I'm not gonna try to jump to any crazy thematic conclusions from the get go. But I'm just gonna kind of talk about them at face value first. So I think what what's really nice about them is this whole idea of the fact that they're introducing this sort of like weird creative concept, like showcasing sort of like the like I don't want to say like the ingenuity of Charles Muntz, and sort of just like establishing him and his legacy and who he is as an explorer. That's not like the reason they work well, but like I'm just like in terms of talking about that, like one thing that you said while we were watching was that these dogs like feel so out of place in like this jungle like movie or whatever, like, but like that's part of the reason why it's so interesting, because it's like it is something that doesn't necessarily feel like, oh, this would be in every adventure movie, which is why it gives a greater sense of exploring the unknown, which is why it gives a greater sense of this is like a world unlike our own. This is it's operating under different rules. Like you know, you sort of see what I'm saying? Yeah. It creates its own sort of like fantastical setting that doesn't feel like it has to be to pay tribute or be held up to the standards of like, okay, so we're just in the jungle and then there's gonna just be like, I don't know, whatever, like random, like not non-sentient, but like non-anthropomorphized animals or whatever that'll chase it. Like it feels like it's its own thing, and as a result, it feels all the more adventurous and fantastical.
Can I play devil's advocate for a second?
Okay.
If is you know, you're saying like it's because they wouldn't necessarily be in like a movie you wouldn't expect them to be there.
Yeah,
like it's really cool.
Yeah.
Like maybe they wouldn't be in a movie like this because they shouldn't be. Like what would you say?
But like why shouldn't they be? Why?
Because I don't think it's that creative. Like it doesn't fit, but at the same time it's not like wildly doesn't fit where it's like now it's gone the other direction now and it feels like really fresh and original. It just feels like the whole thing about like, remember the bees thing? About it just feels slightly I'll explain that as well. So Walter Murch also talks about if you know what a jump cut is, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like something it's not enough of a cut. Mm-hmm. Where they talk about Walter Murch talks about these bees and like if you move a bee's nest, like literally just like an inch or two, like over from where it is, the bees can still find it. But if you move it like a mile, they can still find it because they can like recalibrate it because like it's a new context. But if you move it like a yard or two, they can't find it because it's not far enough to recalibrate, but not close enough to be where they thought it was. That's what this is kind of like, where it's like it doesn't fit enough, but it's not far enough out of it. Okay. Like it's not that. So
this is what I would say.
Like it's not crazy enough. Like, you know what I mean?
If you take, here is a talking dog, not like super out there, right? Here's a talking dog that is able to talk because of the fact it has a collar that was created by its master, and they're all in a pack, and they all respond to this guy, and they're all looking for like this bird that science claims to not exist. And that's when it starts to get really then sort of like out there and unique. It's not just the fact,
more details.
It's a talking dog.
But that's more details, though. I'm saying
but
like
that's
beyond
the execution of it.
But I'm saying that like just because like they're dogs, you can put as much details in. But I'm talking about like just the fact that they're like at the end of the day, what are they? They're dogs.
Yeah.
You're explaining their motivations, but I wish it were. I wish
but I'm
something
explaining
even more
the
crazy.
context in which they can exist within the realm of the story.
That's another thing, that the whole impetus for the adventure is like a little. Like I made a joke in it how like I said, what's his motivation?
Carl's or Muntz's?
Charles.
Oh, Charles Muntz.
Charles Muntz. Okay. And you were like, oh, because like he like his legacy was ruined because no one believed him and he was like for being forgotten. I was like, kind of like how I forgot he existed until the movie. Like he had that newsreel in the beginning, and like Ellie kind of mentions it, but it's more like what's more present is Paradise Falls when she's telling him like at night when they're looking in with the flashlight. It's more about Paradise Falls than really Charles Muntz. But that's also really early in the movie. We don't like I didn't forget because I've seen this movie, so I know.
Right.
But like
you're not thinking about him. His presence isn't still felt, but I don't think it needs to be.
No, but my point being is that it's so but like it's so integral. And this whole thing is so cockamamie and convoluted.
But they still they set it up in the beginning. They say,
but like in a bad way, like not convoluted,
but why in a bad way?
Because it's not something I'm super interested in. Like the idea of like someone like being bitter because they lost their legacy is a really interesting concept. Yeah. But it's introduced so late into the film. It doesn't have a.
It's introduced like 2 minutes into the movie.
No, but then it's forgotten about for 35, 40 minutes of the movie. And not just like, oh, well, he's not there. Like, that whole thread is dropped. You even said to yourself, like, it doesn't have any presence in the film. It's completely
No, I
dropped.
didn't say it doesn't have any presence in the film.
But it is
I'm saying
dropped.
that Charles Muntz himself doesn't have a looming presence.
But how does that thread, how does that have any relevance in the film until he comes back?
How does it have any relevance to it's the whole reason that it's what brought Carl and Ellie together. This guy,
but he's not thinking. But that's not why he's going. He's going for Ellie. Like, he's not thinking about that. At least it's not present.
He's going for Ellie, but that's what like gave a foundation to their.
But he's not.
relationship
But
in the first place.
as a viewer, we're not getting that. That's not apparent in the storytelling or even in the dialogue. He's not saying, I'm doing this, Charles Muntz brought us together. It's dropped. It's completely dropped.
I really disagree with that. It's not dropped. It's not, he doesn't have to directly be like, would you say that it would be better if he was going out to try to, like, make Charles Muntz's name?
No, I just wouldn't have Charles Muntz. I wouldn't even have that element in it.
Wouldn't have Charles Muntz in the movie at all?
Yeah, why couldn't it have just been like, I don't know, you would have to rethink the climax, but why couldn't it have just been like, yeah, they both liked this explored.
We talk a lot about the antagonist and how the antagonist, the reflection of our protagonist. I disagree completely. I think this is a great antagonist because it's the exact reflection.
I don't think it's a reflection at all.
How is it not a reflection at all?
Well, we just talked about this idea of legacy, and that's his defining thing. So in a sense, it should be about Carl rejecting legacy, but there is no like that's not even a thing for Carl.
No. It's not that's not it. What the link between them is their delusion. The link between them is
let's really let's weak. So it's just anybody with a delusion, but the delusions aren't linked.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's the delusion surrounding this idea of this adventure, this idea of then fulfilling what you set out to do or set out to prove, and like not being able to move on from that. It's not just like, oh, he's crazy and Carl's kind of crazy too because he tied balloons to his house. No, it's like this whole idea of someone who was so committed to proving what their goal was when they were younger, and they never moved on and they became obsessed. But
we never see the negative effects of that confront Carl, other than he's just mad. He just keeps wanting to get to Paradise Falls. All the drama is more about losing Kevin.
We don't see the negative effects of Carl's obsession confront him. We don't see when his mailbox almost when he knocks that guy
on the adventure. On the adventure, I mean.
On the adventure? What about during the thunderstorm when all of his belongings are then and he doesn't care about trying to help Russell and he just needs to tie down all of his stuff?
No, I'm not saying the negative effects it's hurting him. I mean no character confronts him about it.
No character confronts him and lays out, Carl, you need to stop then focusing. Yeah, no, they show it through the movie. They don't have a scene where they sit down. Yeah, they totally do.
But what I'm trying to say is he's never confronted with it. We're seeing the negative.
Yes, he is. Because there's a scene in which Muntz sets fire to the house. And there's a direct choice between, all right, are you going to protect Kevin or are you going to protect the house?
I'm saying that's highlighting how deluded he is.
It's not Muntz is directly confronting him with it, and that's how he gets the upper hand over him.
No, I'm trying to say that. Wait, which part of the movie are you talking about?
I'm talking about when Muntz sets the house on fire, and that's how he's able to get Kevin back. Because Carl is then so concerned, he needs to then put it out.
What part of the movie is this in? I forget where this is in the movie.
This is near the end of the movie, right before then they go bring the house to the falls and set it down, and he reads the adventure book.
Okay, so it's before. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying is so.
It's a direct
I'm talking about a specific moment where Carl, in that moment you're talking about, Carl doesn't rethink it. The thing that makes him realize it is reading the book. Mm-hmm. No other character or force confronts him with this is your flaw. Not literally saying this, but there's no scene.
Russell does though. Russell said they took Kevin. You gave away Kevin. You just gave her away. He's confronted about it. It's not directly stated. Carl, because of your obsession,
but he doesn't recognize that. But the movie, I think you're because you're smart. You're reading into it.
I'm not.
No. It's not that.
Okay, but it's not reading.
No, I'm not. But you didn't hear even.
Okay, what were you gonna say?
Not that scene. I think you're reading into it, but I don't think the movie nor Carl recognizes the connections between him and Muntz. I don't think the movie ever. It's there a little, but I think because you're smart, you really you're able to draw those connections. But I don't think the movie. There. No, but I don't. But I think purely on on a like script level, but the movie itself doesn't make any attempt to show like that's what I'm looking for a scene where Muntz like says something because he monologues all the fucking time. So I'm looking for a scene where it becomes very clear, like, oh,
they're
this
cut
is
from the same cloth.
Yeah, but they're never really. Aside from them both, oh my back, like when they're fighting, they both have the same back. Like I'm looking for a scene where it's clearly established that there's a parallel. You're picking up on it.
Well, they have like conversations about like their passion for exploring, and he's saying.
That's more small talk for the tension of the scene before Muntz realizes that they have Kevin. That's not really.
But it shows.
That's not showing their flaw. That's showing their love of adventure.
But it shows the shared interest, which is the exact like crux of.
But you're taking that little element and then extrapolating. I need a moment where we actually see, like, the delusion, how they're both deluded, and how there's a connection there. You're saying, well, the seed of delusion is from their love of exploring, but that part of the scene is supposed to be like a loving scene. We're supposed to be really into this thing until Muntz realizes that they have Kevin.
They've both been driven to Paradise Falls. Both of them, as far as they're concerned, at that point, are going to maybe even end their lives there. That is how far their obsession has gone. They are both old men. They are both explorers. They are both I think there's a lot of in the way of parallels that. But I think you're extrapolating from them. The movie itself, the way the movie is actually like everything but the script. When I say the movie, I'm talking about everything but the script. It's like the movie took the script and then interpreted, like an actor interpreting a scene. That's what I mean by when the movie is doing it, as if it's like a living thing, right? So everything beyond the script, like. There's no ever scene that's edited or paced or shot in any way using the script that shows that parallel in a clear enough way for me to feel satisfied as a filmmaker. There's enough parallels because, they both like exploring. They both have these delusions. But all of this is more like looking at it purely surface value if I was reading the script. Okay, I guess so. Yeah, you're right. I never even noticed that until you said it. I don't think it's clear enough. Nothing about like the expression with which Muntz sets the house on fire. Nothing about like the actual like.
Honestly, I don't even remember this scene that you're talking about. Like set the house on fire.
Watch the movie again.
But that's my point. Is I don't even like remember this scene, and we just watched it half an hour ago.
It's such an integral scene. Okay, I don't know.
Like I don't even remember it.
It's a huge. All right, it's a huge scene, directly challenging Carl's priorities, and it's a mirror to the earlier scene of the thunderstorm.
But he's not challenged. He's not confronting that delusion. He's not confronting. When I say confronting that delusion, he begins to doubt the delusion. But he's just emboldened by like, oh my god, you blew my. Like he's even more emboldened.
It affirms it. Yeah, no, he makes the wrong choice.
But I'm saying a scene where he's confronted with the delusion and he begins to realize, oh wait, maybe this isn't. And we don't get that. We just get that with the book. Which, by the way, I said this during the movie. So you're saying this is pure coincidence. So you're telling me. It's not coincidence. So I said, wait, so he never opened the book until just now?
All right, let's talk about this. It's not that he didn't open the book. For years and years and years, he didn't open the book. No. With as far as the adventure book is concerned and the stuff I'm going to do section, that was blank until Ellie was on her deathbed. And we see in the movie when she's on her there are crafts on like her like bedside table and such, and like once she then gives him the book, then he does we see he's looking through the book earlier in the movie, but when he gets to the stuff I'm going to do page, he closes it. And he closes it every time because he knows it's empty. Of course it's not, but he can't then bear to look at it because he knows it's just his failure and the fact that they didn't fulfill their life's objective.
So that leaves only one possibility, and I'm going to ask this question.
Okay.
So does that mean that so if she meant for him to read it because she wrote a message in it, so she intended for him to read this, did she just not want him to actually read it, or did she croak before she had the chance to say, hey, read this book? Because her intention seems to be, like, she wrote a message in it.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't she say, I added some new sections to our book after she handed it to him? Or did she die immediately after doing it?
Her intention is for him to read it. But she forgot. No.
Or she died before.
No.
But then why didn't she say it?
Well, like I think she died shortly after, but I don't think it was literally like done. No, I don't think that's what happened. I think what happened is she wrote in it. She was very, like, we see that she's, like, quite weak and feeble by the time, like, he gets to her. She just gives him the book. She assumes she handed it to him and went, there's no dialogue in this montage, so I can't tell you to read this. But
you see what I'm saying? The fact that you have to explain it, like, oh, but then, like, she was so weak. It's like it's everything's happening so conveniently, just so for this to happen, so we can have this moment.
I don't think it's convenient, because think about if this was like in real life, this was a gesture that then you did. It was something like, okay, like it's Christmas time, and I'm going to leave this present for someone, and it's just like. It's sort of like this thing
if I'm dying, that's like a emotionally manipulative thing to like leave a hidden message.
It's not a hidden message. It's just to leave it to you to discover. I need
a straight answer though. And there's a one sentence answer. If it actually isn't convenient, why doesn't she tell him that she added something to the book?
Why doesn't she just tell him?
Yeah, like, hey, you might not read this. Not because you're just like, I know you're going to be so upset you won't read it, but like. There might be a chance
you seem to be thinking that if she doesn't specifically say it, she is intentionally trying to make
No, I'm just saying that the movie it's a plot hole.
I don't think it's a plot hole, seriously.
Well, because it's a major emotional... It's the only turning point of the film where he finally realizes it. Nothing else has made him realize his delusion.
She gives him the book...
Why would she not say to look in the book?
Because the fact that she gave it to him, her intention is for him to read it, but he doesn't understand that she added anything to it.
But why didn't she say that she did?
Because if you do something nice for someone and it's supposed to be like it's like this surprise, it's this nice thing I did. You don't want to just say, "Oh, look, on this page I wrote that." You want them to like discover it and for them to like read it on their own.
But if it would be a surprise, wouldn't she say, "Hey, read it. I have a little surprise for you at the end of the book"? If she's gonna die soon. How does he, if she's just going through it, how does he know? Wait, hold on.
What?
This is a perfect thing. So why would she, so she gave it to him without saying she did anything to the book? No. So why did she ask for the book and had all these pictures, and who brought her the pictures at the hospital to put it into the book?
Who brought her the pictures?
To put in the book. Him. Presumably.
No.
They only have each other. They don't know anybody else. We made it very clear they don't have any kids. They don't have any other relatives, I guess, that could bring it to them. So presumably, he brought the pictures, and then there was no pictures left on the table.
She could have started it before she literally keeled over. She could have been working on it for a while because she.
And then he would have had to brought the rest of the stuff to the hospital.
Right? I don't think so.
How would she have gotten it? The stuff.
Well, like what we could if there's like she could have had all of the pictures. What we see there's like glue, there's like paste on her bedside table. She might have then just been like adjusting it and then like affixing everything to the pages. She didn't necessarily need all of the resources. She didn't need all of the photographs to be brought there.
But this still brings up the question:
why would she? Such a hyper-specific thing to be harping on.
No, because it's not. And the reason why I normally wouldn't be this nitpicky. I'm really not a nitpicky person. I'm usually very forgiving of movies. Like I try to like look at macro, see the forest for the trees. Mm-hmm. But this is the basis of the big emotional turning point of the film, and it's based on the fact that this character. It's pure evil. No, this is not up for debate. Mm-hmm. It just so happens he never looked in it because of this emotional thing.
But it's not. It just so happens. It's not a coincidence.
No. I'm not saying. I'm saying that like a character. I don't like major plot things, and him deciding to not be an asshole, or whatever, is a major plot point. Would you agree that this moment where he finally reads the book, right?
Deciding to like. That's not how I would categorize it.
Well, because otherwise he wouldn't do anything, so the plot wouldn't move forward. So would you say him reading the book and then realizing
the book is like it is a pivot point in of his arc,
narrative.
Of course. Oh, well, yeah.
In the narrative, not just his arc.
Yes, the narrative, his arc.
Okay,
both.
So I don't like major narrative pivots, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. I don't like major pivots that are like if you had just done something else earlier. We would have already reached this point.
But the fact that he didn't look in it is directly motivated by the fact that...
It was an accident, though. He didn't finally make a decision to look in it. It was an accident. He saw a picture on it. He didn't suddenly have the courage to look at the page.
But that's not what I'm saying. The arc is not having the courage to look at it. The arc is that before...
To accidentally turn to the page.
Hang on. Just let me finish my thought. Jeez. The arc is that he didn't want to ever then look at the rest of the section because he felt that he had failed Ellie. And he knew that if he were to go to the stuff we're going to do and see all those blank pages, that it would just shove in his face the fact that they never... And that's why he then didn't look at it.
Exactly,
the fact that then he is like...
So it's an accident.
The fact that then he accidentally then is able to see the picture, it's not like, he then comes into then his arc by accident. But
if he had just looked at those pages before, the movie wouldn't need to happen.
But if he had looked at those pages before, that's assuming that...
What if he had accidentally stumbled on them again? Like, he does this by accident. So what if he had accidentally done it before?
Well, then that just wouldn't be a good story.
For me, that's not strong. But the fact that it could have happened, that's not a strong...
But just hang on. The fact that he wasn't willing to look at them...
Because it is coincidence, because it is an accident that he finds the pages.
Yeah.
So it is a coincidence. A major plot point is a coincidence.
But that aspect of it is like coincidental, but it's completely supported by the fact that he has had his own adventure the whole movie. It's contextualized by that.
If he really knew Ellie, wouldn't he know that she wouldn't feel like he disappointed her? If he really understood her as a person, wouldn't he know that to quote The Incredibles, "You were my greatest adventure"? Wouldn't she know that? Wouldn't he know that? They've been married for 65 years, and when he know that?
Listen, it's combined with the fact that it's something, it's what, gave a solidification to their relationship to begin with. It's the last thing that then he tried to do with her, and the last thing that then she did was give him the book as if to suggest, you need to do this. Which, of course, is not what then she meant by it. But that's the whole reason. The way that then he looks at the book shows how much his character changes over the course of the movie. Because he's not willing to look at the rest of the pages because he feels that Ellie wasn't afforded the life that she deserved, the life that she wanted, that they didn't have an adventure. If he didn't have that block, then he would have been fine, looking at the rest of the pages. And the fact that then he sees later everything that then they did, and the fact that he can then go have another adventure and that his life isn't over, it is all informed by everything that he's done with Russell in the movie, everything he's done with protecting Kevin and meeting Doug, and all of this. It's like that contextualizes it. It's sort of just it gives a context to everything that happened in the movie. It affirms to him, that wasn't a waste of time. That wasn't something that was keeping me from fulfilling my true objective. This is what my life is.
And I agree with all that.
Yeah.
But it's all predicated on her not telling him, look in the back eye, there's a little surprise for you. I'm dying. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure you do this because I won't be around to make sure you see it. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's the point I'm trying to make.
So, let's just say we had a scene of then her, doing stuff with the book, and then Carl then comes in to see her, and she's already dead. Would that have then you either not do it or she's doing it and then in the house and hide, and then when he walks in she's like, oh shit, and puts up and then puts it back on the shelf maybe. But even then, my whole point is that you would have to rework the whole concept. And that's my point, is that this major emotional moment is based off of this idea that he never looked into it, which for valid reasons, this whole arc, I'm really into that. Mm-hmm. But then it raises the question, well, why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? I know, because he couldn't bring himself to do it. But then why wouldn't she have just But I think, you know what, there's nothing...
If it was such an important
thing... There's nothing preventing me also from even saying logistically that she wasn't able to speak anymore. Because she is really weak and feeble when he comes up to her, and she just sort of caresses his face, and then she's just lying there still.
She couldn't have pointed to the book?
She gives it to him. She could. So, you wanted her to go no, but it's a big hardcover book. It would have been hard for her little arms. So,
but I'm sure in the context of the film she can talk, but for the purposes of the montage, they're not talking. I don't think she's mute.
Not mute.
I don't think she's that weak. She can't talk. My point being is that it's predicated on a convenient thing. I don't like when characters. It's major things are happening just because they aren't informed of something, and then they know it.
But it's by something much deeper. And I think the reason why it works is it's informed by something much deeper than, it's just this coincidence. It comes from...
If it was her, essentially not her last words, but her, last wish for him, mm-hmm. Why wouldn't she just say it? Do you know what I mean? Because then there's no movie. That's my point, is that, you need that in order to have the movie. If it was that important, this is, the last thing she wants him to take from her before she scuffles off this earth. Mm-hmm. is this, and you're gonna leave it to chance that he might not look. Again, going back to how well they know each other.
She doesn't know she's leaving it to chance, though. She doesn't realize that he's not going to be able. He's not.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That going back to the idea of how well they know each other, wouldn't she know that he would be so broken about it that he wouldn't ever open the book? Isn't it so important that she wouldn't leave it to a fucking scrapbook, that she would say it to him, and then also have the scrapbook there as a physical reminder? Wouldn't she say that in person on her deathbed? Like in every movie ever, with someone on their deathbed, they say something important. I think you're really trying to defend this, but I don't think this is an arguable point.
It's not arguable, even. I understand if this is something that then bothers you, but you don't think it's even within the realm of discussion.
It's more. It's not, and this isn't a bad thing, but I think it's a trigger word, and it's offending you. It feels very convenient. That it has to happen this way, because if it happens any other way than the film can't take place. As opposed to character decisions. But is more. It's more like it has to happen this very specific way, outside of the character's control. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, the movie can't happen.
But and I'm going to say in which the ways that it's motivated by character decisions on both sides. Because if it was something just say it was this instead, that she added stuff to the pages, and then accidentally she spilled over some ink, and then it covered.
But it'd be stronger if he knew.
Oh, that's stupid.
It'd be stronger if he knew there was something there and chose not to look. That would be stronger.
That could be interesting. That's it. That's
you wouldn't think it would be stronger?
Not necessarily, no, because then what would be keeping him from? I think that would strain credibility much more. There's something there that his wife left for him, and he knows, and he doesn't look. I think that's
because he can't bring it to himself to, because that's a very explanation-y thing. He knew there was nothing there, and he could never bring himself.
But we specifically see a scene of him then looking at it, getting to that page, and closing the book because he's so. I'm not just making it up. He probably didn't want to. They spend a scene to establish that.
Very understood. This is something else, kind of.
Okay.
Why? This is still about the book. Okay. Why, in the beginning, she's like, when I go on my adventures, then I'll put it in my stuff I'm going to do. I thought a stuff I'm going to do section of a book would be things you handwrite, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Why is it I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to put pictures in a section called I'm going to do this stuff, if she already did it? I just don't understand that. That's very much a nitpick that I'm not going to try to say ruins the film, but I never understood that. When she's a kid.
Yeah.
Why is there a section stuff I'm going to do, but there's nothing written in it? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be the part you handwrite I want to do this, I want to do that? But for her it's more I'm going to do it, take pictures of it, and then put it in the book. Wouldn't it be more a section of stuff I've done section?
Well, I think sort of what you have to then take from that there is the fact that if it's then a stuff that then we're planning to do, and the notion of this section being empty, it shows that it wasn't fulfilled, and I think it puts a better button on that. But just within the world of the story,
but why would she say
that would make sense? I think it's just because that as a child, if then she's she writes what then she's going to do in the future, and she leaves that open for she writes it as a kid, stuff I'm going to do. I'm going to leave this to older me to actually then do this section. It's like she would write future me that this is her stuff. That's what I think it means.
Yeah, but she doesn't write anything. She just puts pictures of stuff she's already done. Or I'm not just saying near the end where we see her life with Carl. She says in the beginning when she's a kid, I'm going to go do that stuff and then put it in this section. Mm-hmm. I don't get that. That's confusing. I don't get that.
No. I think it makes sense because it's all right.
Why would you put stuff in a section I'm going to do if you've already done it?
But she didn't already do it.
No, but she said when I do it, I will put it in this section. Pictures of me already doing it. That's what she says. She says that.
This is a weird thing to be discussing, but I think it's just simply that as a kid, has this expectation of she's going to fill this section. The section I'm going to fill. This is all of my.
Why wouldn't it be called the stuff I've done? Because it feels. That's what I understand. It's just a nitpicky thing, but why? It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any logical sense.
Because if it was stuff I've done, then she could put when she just tripped yesterday.
No, but it's her adventure book, so it would just be her adventure stuff.
I think it makes perfect sense why she would put an emphasis on the future in terms of stuff I'm going to do. I understand what you're saying in terms of
I'm gonna have a to-do list, but I'm only gonna write things I actually did. That's the exact same thing. I have a to-do list, But it's gonna be. It's gonna be blank until I do something, and then I write it in my.
But it's not like.
That's exactly what it is.
But it's not a to-do list. It's a commemorative scrapbook.
Then why would you call it the things? The to-do list. It's essentially the to-do list. Things I want to do in the future. Isn't that what it is? It's a blank to-do list and filling up with things you did. Right?
Oh my God!
Is it not?
Sure. It's obviously not like an objective to-do list of just like, all right, well, check.
No, I'm only getting frustrated about it because I was confused by it. But you're trying to like defend it as if like, no, hold on, don't dare discredit Up for having this illogical to-do list in the movie. I don't really care about it.
But think about it this way: if she's a child and then she writes,
oh, she's stupid. Okay, I can
say
that.
No, but no, if she's a child and she writes stuff I did, she did. You didn't do it yet.
No, but My Adventures. But it's blank yet.
All right, then she should have called it My Adventures.
No, the thing she did. But that's why it's blank, because she hasn't done anything. The things I've done section would be blank, right? I'm just following the logical train of thought. You did something, and then if you're going to do it in the future, you can't. You would have to take it off the to-do list because it's done now.
Well, interestingly enough, one of the songs in the I think the track that plays during the scene when he looks at it near the end is called Stuff We Did, as if to emphasize that they actually then ended up doing stuff and that they had fulfilling lives. Yeah. But I understand why it's called Stuff I'm Going to Do, both within the world of the story, because it's stuff that she planned to do as an adult, and because it makes more thematic sense.
I'd like you to carry your to-do list. I'd like you to carry to-do list around this week. But it has to be blank until you do it, and then you
God in heaven, can we move on, please?
Yeah. But anyway, so...
we spent like 20 minutes talking about this book.
Well, it bothers me. I don't know. It just bothers me. Because it's a major emotional moment.
It is a major emotional moment, and it works tremendously. Everyone talks about the first...
It works tremendously, except how it doesn't.
Everyone talks about the married life montage. I think him looking at the book and the thanks for the adventure now.
I wish that was just a scrapbook. Here's the thing. Why does it have to be like a... You know what it is? You want to know what the issue is? I figured out a way to articulate it. And I think you can maybe at least see this point.
Sure.
He is really cynical the whole time, but then he finally looks at this undiscovered thing, and then realizes, wait, this is what Ellie would have wanted, right?
Yeah.
I think what would work better is if this wasn't a secret part of the scrapbook. He knew it was there, and he was just looking. He went back in, and now no Russell, no Kevin, no Doug, no nothing, by himself. He's just alone now. Mm-hmm. He sits. He walks through the house. He's putting the stuff back, right, and he finds the scrapbook, right. Mm-hmm. As I think he does, but he knows what's at the end, and he's slipping through it, right, and he's like kind of like, because like the adventure didn't really go the way he planned. But then he gets to the section that he knows is there.
Yeah.
But now, because of what's happened over the story, this story in the film wouldn't be able to do this because I don't like the way this story progresses, but let's say it's a better story. He realizes what he's learned over this journey. He realizes that this half of the adventure book is more meaningful than the first half of the adventure book.
How do you externalize that?
By him looking at the thing and him like...
By him sighing heartily?
Which is what he already does that in the scene.
But like, he's already looked at... Presumably, in order to get this across...
Don't say he's looking at it, but now he's able to look at it at a new context and realize, no, you know what? It's the people in my life that give me joy, and that's the adventure of life. Not going to Paradise Falls.
But you're talking cinematic elements. Presumably, if this was to make sense, the scene in which he looks at it earlier, he would have to look at this section and be like, this doesn't really, like, this wasn't a real
You have
adventure.
to rework it so it's not, like, as big of a thing. Like, because you're talking about very much, like, specifically, like, the way the scene is now, he looks through this bit, but...
I feel like that's more of the novel way of writing it, because then it's like, okay, this is really internal in terms of, it's the same visuals of him looking through the same section, and he feels different internally.
Even better.
Okay.
There's no stuff to do section. Mm-hmm. There's just an adventure scrapbook. He puts it back up on the shelf and sees another scrapbook. He opens that, takes that one. So it's a very physical, external choice. Even though he hasn't made he hasn't had his epiphany yet, he's beginning to prioritize this over that.
Okay.
He takes the thing. So it's not like it's the second part of the thing, like the stuff I'm going to do. It's just like this is purely a scrapbook for their adventure ideas.
All right.
And then he puts it back up on the shelf and then sees the other one. Mm-hmm. And then you hear the little Michael Chino, And he's like, let me take a look at it. You know? Not because there's been a secret message, but maybe he hasn't looked at that one in a while.
Because he just hasn't. Okay, this I can see more.
And he opens it and he starts to look through it and realizes that it's the people in life that give us adventure, not literally going on.
Okay, this version of the scene,
because this is not convenient. This is not coincidental. This is very much like characters making active choices and knowing all the circumstances. There's not like the rug has been pulled out from under them. There's not some hidden information that they didn't know, but now they know. Because in the original, because the way it is in the movie, it feels, and I know it's not really. Angle. Please don't try to defend this, because I already know what you. I don't need you to hear what you're gonna say, because I already know what you're gonna try to say.
Okay.
That it feels more like the culminating critical choice, him deciding, for this, is because this is what Ellie would have wanted. Mm-hmm. Whereas in my version, it's I'm choosing this. Mm-hmm. I don't have any guidance from Ellie anymore. I don't have any more guidance from Ellie. I need to, because he had no sense of it. He was so directionless and goofy before he met Ellie. And Ellie kind of like was the one who really led him along in life. And not in a bad way. Like, she was the thing that gave him this joy and adventure. And then when she was gone, he was like, I don't have Ellie anymore. I can't find joy or adventure in anything anymore. Right. In the way it is in the movie, it's like, this is what Ellie would have wanted. And I know because she wrote in the book. But in this version, it's like, I can't rely on Ellie anymore. Right? Mm-hmm. But I can still find adventure and joy in other people.
I totally see that. But it's really funny you say that, because what I was going to say in response was, while I like what you just proposed and I can see how it would work, like as a film, as a cinematic element, I do like that Ellie has an active involvement. I do like the fact that Ellie made peace with it too, because it shows us directly that Ellie recognized as well that this was the adventure. It's not just Carl.
But couldn't you integrate that element, her being at peace with it? Couldn't you integrate that in some other way that isn't also part of the scene?
Well, we
need to like dupe Carl and like objectively he there's information that he doesn't know, and then he finds out. And that
she's not duped, but like like
so that's what I'm saying. Isn't there a way we could do that where he's not like. It's not like he's been in the dark and then suddenly he has this new piece of information. Isn't there a way we can integrate this idea of her being coming to terms with it?
Well, the way we do it is we telegraph it in a really obvious way that I would have hated, which would have been earlier on in the movie, while she's alive, she would have been like, we didn't get to do all this stuff, but we still had a good... And then you'd be like, no, settle down, Ellie. We're still going to Paradise Falls.
No, but I feel like you could have...
but like...
but I think you could have figured out... I think you could have done it a different way. That's the first instinctual way, but you could have done it like... maybe he was like, maybe he could have said, Ellie would have wanted this, and Russell could have said like, would she have? And that's it. And then he walks away, and that's the last thing they say to each other. And then he walks back in, and he's like, maybe she, I don't know. And he's looking back and seeing all their happy moments together. And no, I think that would have worked super well. Mm-hmm. You don't think so?
No, I think that could work pretty well.
I don't think that's telegraphic. I think that's just. I think it's like, this is what Ellie. So let's make it more clear. That's kind of like what his arc's about. Because it's not really. Like we just have him talking to his dead wife.
But I do love Thanks for the Adventure, now go have a new one. Love Ellie. I think that's fantastic. Are you saying you want to rob me of that beautiful page?
You maybe could have figured that out.
Perfectly chosen words.
No, but you could have still had that where he didn't know that was in the back of the scrapbook, maybe. But like the idea that
so he was duped.
No, but this is like whole section like. The positing that this is the adventure.
Oh, I always put my thumb over the bottom right corner of the end of the book.
No, I mean on the very last page, I'll flip on the back. Okay. I don't know. Well, maybe he already knew it was there, but now it has a new meaning or context.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I think that's like that makes sense. But that is more of an internal. I like this whole idea that he literally he feels so ashamed, and he feels so like not even considering it at all. Not just like he's told, oh, you did have an adventure, and he rejects it. No, it's just he didn't even like put two and two together. I think that's a lot more poignant. But anyway, let's then talk about another thing that made you upset.
Oh, what?
The age discrepancy.
How please don't try to defend this somehow.
Well, let me first say
I think at best you can say, like, just don't think about it. I don't know how you can try to say, like, this works.
Well, let me first say this. Originally, in the movie, there was, like, this was going to be not only addressed, but it would be, like, part of it, in the sense that Kevin, the snipe, as it were, would, like, lay these eggs that had, like, rejuvenating fountain of youth powers that were able to keep Muntz a certain age. And they had that, but it was too distracting and too, like, not, like, pressing to, like, what the actual then story was, that then they got rid of it.
But all this other stuff is?
Well, because this doesn't relate to Carl's arc in any way. This is an additional fantastical element that's more just to be like, oh, well, this is why this.
But I can almost see that more. But I can see that parallel even more because Muntz trying to keep himself alive
in the past,
and Carl's trying to keep Ellie alive in a similar way. That would I felt like it would work even more.
Okay.
Because again, going back to this parallel of them being delusional, I think is there, but you kind of have to really piece it together, but not in like like you're giving the audience credit way, more like it's just not clear enough way, and I have to do more work than I'm doing more work than I should be doing. I'm doing the wrong kind of work. I'm doing like the writing work. I'm trying to like write this in my head, this connection in my head. But anyway,
yeah, it could have maybe been interesting
because he's supposed to be like 30 years old minimum, so he's probably older than that. He's probably like 35
in the beginning in the newsreel. I don't think he's that old. I think
he wouldn't be he couldn't be any younger.
He couldn't have been in, like, his 20s? He couldn't have been in his early 20s? And Carl couldn't have been, like, 8 at the beginning? That's not that far of a difference. Say Carl is, like,
but I don't think
65, maybe, at through the majority of this movie, excuse me? Like,
yeah, I guess. It's just, It just...
I think, like, that makes no... Because if they weird. Really, like, it was... You had to do one of two things. Either you, like, if you just sort of have that as an explanation, like... I feel like then that's introducing another fantastical element that we have to buy into that isn't really then key to the story. It's either you do that or you do, like, literally... He's not just, like... It's, like, keeping him alive and he's, like, the same, like, age as Carl. But, like, he's still, like, as young as he was in the newsreel. And it's almost like... This is a weird comparison, but it's, like... With, like, Logan and how, like, you have, you know, like, X-24.
Yeah.
Then, like, looking like the younger version. Like, not literally the younger version of Carl, but, like, he's still then from the old age.
Maybe it would buy it more.
Not of old age.
Because they're supposed to be, like...
Past.
There feels like there's a huge age difference between a 25-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Uh-huh.
But when they're both really old, I guess they're so similar.
Yeah.
I almost wish instead of, and I guess you could make this comment about like, oh, they've kind of been brought to the same level now.
Right.
But I don't think that's anywhere in the movie. I think that's just me like trying to rationalize.
No, I agree.
So I would have maybe almost bought. You have to restructure it. So he's not a little kid in the beginning. But I would have bought it more if maybe they were like around the same age, maybe like actually around the same age, because like the difference between a 70-year-old and an 80-year-old. Even though it's still 10 years apart, is different than a 10-year-old to a 20-year-old.
So if he was like a teenager in the beginning and like...
But you'd have to restructure it. You wouldn't have the great sequence of it because I want Ellie and him to meet as kids.
I want them as kids. You know who voices Ellie, by the way?
The little girl?
Yeah.
Who?
It's Pete Docter's daughter.
Oh, that's cute.
Ellie Docter. And she does a fantastic
The one that he made Inside Out for? Oh, good.
Oh, yes. No, yeah. She like does such a fantastic job in like... having like such an energy to her, but doesn't come off as annoying at all. Is so endearing. Is so like you immediately fall in love with this character. And it's so like so many movies. Like I just want to address this. So many movies try and fail to do this, especially in the post-Up era. I feel like a lot of movies like and I'll hear this in film class at NYU too. People will be like, oh, we'll do the opening in sort of an Up way. I'll have like this character that is close to the main character and then die. It'll sort of be like Up. And I see movies that then try to then do something like this, and like they establish a character that's important, and then they die, like maybe not necessarily in like the first 10 minutes or like in like flashback, but like within like first 20 minutes or so of the movie, and like I just like the connection isn't really there, and it feels more just like, all right, this is exposition, and it's not even pressing to the rest of the movie. This is sort of a there's people outside. This is sort of like this is a really weird example. But, like, in Edge of 17...
Arrival does this as well.
Arrival, like, makes you think it's doing it, but then it, like... we won't get into because spoilers. But, like, with Edge of 17, it's sort of then, like... It doesn't feel like... It doesn't inform the rest of the narrative and the rest of the character journey in the same way that Ellie does for Carl.
Ellie's, like...
So it feels very pertinent to the story, and it's not just like, oh, well, here's this thing that happened, and now the character is in this situation. It's like, no, because of this, Carl is going to do everything that he does in the movie. And that's why it works so well, and it's fantastic, and it's great.
Ellie, she's not this, but I can see the argument that she's, like, on the cusp. She's not.
Okay.
But she's not actually this, but she's, like, could be on the cusp of Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
Yeah.
Like, the idea of, like, she completes him, like, and, like, she's super manic, and, like, she has all the answers, and she's super smart. She's, like, perfect in every way.
But that's another reason why I love that she's able to, like, recognize the fact that they had an adventure through all the small moments. It's not that she's just like, zippy woo, here I go, I'm gonna swing from a vine and adventure.
I know you like this part.
the weather and the log bolt.
I assume you love this part.
Yeah.
But it seems a little... I want to see if you can hear me out on the defense of this. The part when they're walking and Russell's talking about his father, whatever, and he says the line, I think the boring parts are the parts I remember the most.
The boring stuff.
Why the boring parts thing? Stars, why the verb remember? Like, this presumably wasn't that long ago you were with your father. Like, it was only a few years ago. But that's a nitpick. But why that verb?
That makes sense. Remember, like, as in.
But he's not old. He's not like remembering.
He's not old, but like as a kid, like especially like.
But why not like love the most? I would have bought love the most. That's not what the point I was trying to make. But that's just also a nitpicky thing I just remember. Why do you say like the things I love the most? Remember is just a weird verb choice.
Okay.
Remember implies like this long distance of time, like even.
But like as a kid, time like
sure. This is like trying to rationalize it now. Like trying to.
No, I don't think so. As a kid, time passes more slowly. It's been like years without than his dad, and like he's then clinging on to these memories that he had with his dad. And
it's supposed to be like years and years. I thought he still sees him like all the time. It's just like he's just busy.
He doesn't see him that often from what Russell lets on. He says he's.
But anyway, but that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. It's also I'm amazed. No matter what I say, you have a ready defense for. Oh well, time moves more.
Because I love that you're hitting on all the things I really like. But yeah, go ahead.
That line is really relevant, but it feels really out of place for that scene. Because they're talking, and I know you have a defense ready.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna open myself up to it, but. They're talking and he's just walking through. What's the beginning of that? Like, why
he's talking about Fenton's and how they used to then get ice cream and that like.
But why does he say something so poignant? It just feels like way too poignant. It's like he had like just the right thing to say. It was like way too. Like remember once we were in class. This is very hyper specific audience. Once we were in class, I showed a script and someone said the characters seem too smart. Like they always have like the right thing to say. Like that just seemed like too perfect. For the movie, I don't feel like that character.
I can sort of understand that.
Would say
no,
that.
I can sort of understand that. I think what helps
because I really wish he would have just told that story. Maybe, and I don't know what else he would have said, but it's like the rest of the way he's talking the whole movie. It seems like really eloquent language that he hasn't talked with the rest of the movie. You know what I mean? He's really articulate.
It's only that sentence. Like I think, like.
No, I mean, no. I like that whole thing about describing Fenton's. It's that one line where he's just like, I think it's the boring bits or parts, whatever he says,
stuff,
that I remember the most. You know, it just seems like a little too like it. Not just the way it's written, but like that moment in time, the character that's saying it. It does feel very like looking at the camera, in the sense of like it just feels like a little too perfect.
I can understand that, but I think what supports it is the fact that they had a conversation in which the dad was brought up earlier in the movie. This isn't the first time he's bringing up his dad. Like, yeah, no.
It would be better if Carl brought up like, so what stuff do you and your dad do? And he could say, oh, I don't. It's been so long, it's hard to remember. And then he brings that up, like this whole idea of like him remembering things. It just didn't seem like they eased into it. They're just walking and he's just talking about Fenton's and the ice cream and the writer, the Pete Doctor's writing this and he's like, him and Bob Pearson, they're like, we need to have this in there somewhere, this scene of him talking about Fenton's and the ice cream. Yeah. Also for the ending. Okay, we'll put that over here. Because now they're just walking anyway.
They could have eased into it a little more, but like, I just think it's such a good line. And it's such it's such a, like, in the sense that like,
I like the thematic implications. I'm just saying I think it could have been extra.
I like the fact that he says boring. I like that like that's sort of that like this sort because it's really getting at this idea of the unceremonious, the exact opposite of adventure. Like these small moments that you wouldn't even have thought about otherwise. And what I was thinking about when there's this great shot when after then Carl of course then tosses everything out of the house and it's like then he's able like. And the name of the instrumental track when he's doing that is, of course, "Memories Will Hold You Down," or I think that's the name of it. Because they're literally the objective. Anyway,
so I have to read sheet music to fully get the movie.
No, you should be able to feel it when you watch it if you have a soul, which I'm starting to think you don't.
I don't know. I don't know if I do anymore. But I don't want to be this person who doesn't like. He
flies up into the air, and then he has Doug with it, and there's this great shot of him, and then he has Russell Sass and all of the badges. What really, and I never necessarily felt quite this before, but watching it this time, it sort of hit me. He's like the badges are representative of the boring stuff. And he's wearing it like a literal badge of honor, triumphantly at the end. Here are all the random little then escapades that then I did, and of course the fact that they were initially then intrinsically tied to I'm doing each of these to then try to get closer to my father. But they are all these little menial tasks, they don't necessarily mean too much. But he's celebrating them, and you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like the thematic thing. I just don't think that part's written super well.
The him standing there and the
no, I'm talking about the whole.
Oh, you're talking about the line still.
The line still. Yeah. I like that line. I'm fine with that line being there. I just don't think that scene is written great, so it sullies that moment.
Okay.
And I would be, as much as I complain about the kumbaya, my lord, let's say the theme of the movie, right? I would have actually been able to buy that whole moment if they just eased into it better.
Yeah, I think they could have spent a little bit more.
Also, so what's the whole thing? When Russell's mad at Carl, he throws down his sash, as if the sash is supposed to be a symbolic of their relationship.
Because he at that point he feel Carl is not signing off on his badge. Carl is so then at that point, if he's then not going to then even get the last badge, he's then all of this was then it doesn't mean anything if he doesn't have them all and. He can't.
How does he end up on this thing? I'm still confused about how he even ended up in the house.
How he ended up in the house? He talks about how he followed the snipe and I hid under your porch.
So he climbed out from under the porch, but we see under the porch when they're flying the thing.
Well, he goes up and down and down and
he's
up and up.
He's scurrying around like a roach. He's scurrying all around the house. So the camera. Oh, the camera! Oh God, the camera's about to.
Because he thinks that then he sees And it's that little flag thing that's sticking out of his bag. That then he thinks he sees the snipe as. So he keeps seeing it because it's constantly right behind him. So we go, oh, is there? Was there? So then in every shot, when then you can't see him below, he's up. Can see and then every scene that we see up, then he goes down. Yeah, of course they're cheating it. I know they're cheating it, but yeah.
I don't know. I don't think this chubby Boy Scout is a great conduit for Carl to learn this lesson. I don't know. I don't think he's the best conduit for it. I don't know what would be. I just don't know. If
a young boy interested in exploring. Kind of like he was in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And also the fact that then it's sort of I really like the scene when he hears Carl talking to Ellie. He's like, Ellie, and hey, can we take
that part's cute.
That's really cute.
I like this
sort of he finally then has a kid. Duh, but
that makes sense.
Yeah.
When you say duh, you're right. I didn't
really. Oh, okay.
Well, I probably did, but it is maybe so duh that I stopped thinking about it.
I thought you'd be okay.
No, I guess that's true. That's a true point. It's an effective conduit. I'm just saying, I don't know if it's the best conduit. What would I say? I like the idea of Kevin because it makes sense for the world. I think the jungle. I wish this was more of an Indiana Jones kind of movie, more of an adventure movie. You're talking about this but it subverts the. I don't think it subverts it enough to be subversive. It has the dogs and the guy. Well, because I don't think it's subversive enough.
The adventure is directly in service of Carl's arc, whereas something like Indiana Jones, other than Last Crusade, it's not really about the character.
No, I don't mean when I say Indiana Jones, I mean more the aesthetic of it, this adventure, all these kind of I would have been more into it, I think, if it was either very much an adventure movie or very subversive of the adventure genre. It's not subversive enough.
Okay.
If it's going to be subversive. Mm-hmm. Again, the bees recalibrating. And I think that's kind of the big thing is I kind of wish, the movie feels all over the place. With WALL-E, if it was two distinct sections, and I get why the second section was there, I just wish it had it, I wish they had done it differently. Yeah. This, it just feels all over the place for me.
All over.
In terms of, at least on a surface level. Mm-hmm. I can see the themes, I guess. You make very compelling points about the parallels between Muntz and you're starting to smirk over there. I see you. It's Muntz and Carl. I can see that. It feels a little extrapolated, but I can see it. I understand. But on a surface level, it just feels all over the place. It's trying to juggle too many elements. Like
on paper, I would agree, but it all messes together somehow. I can't really explain why. I guess just because it's all filtered through.
And I'm glad it works. It just
Carl's
doesn't work
perspective
for me.
And how like he's trying to then reject all of it, and like everything that's coming his way. And yeah, I understand. Like I guess it also just helps the fact that it is sort of like again like another like interesting similarity to WALL-E in the sense that it's sort of bare bones in terms of its cast. So like it really then like every then sort of strange element introduced. It's just like okay, so then there's this and then that's it. So this is then everything that then we're dealing with. So we're not like I know there's some like pretty like big thing. We're gonna ask you to believe then the dogs then flying the fighter planes shooting at Russell, but like
and I know we would like that.
Much.
It just felt like it was coming out of left field for this movie.
Okay.
Like I would love a scene in a movie with the dogs flying. I would be like, oh my god, that's so funny. Yeah. But like for this, like it's supposed to be kind of like this actually serious element, like actual source of danger. Isn't it kind of funny? It's not played for complete laughs. It's meant to actually be something threatening, but also has an element of ha-ha. And that's undisputable because they're actually like shooting at them.
Yeah.
Like it's actually supposed to be an actual threat, presence of danger.
What do you think of the voice acting? We didn't talk about the cast at all. What do you think of Ed Asner as Carl?
Ed Asner does a pretty good job.
I think he does.
Russell, I think that whole character just annoys me, but the kid does it for what they needed him to do. I guess he does a good job. Muntz does a pretty good job. Doug is funny, but I think at this point it's kind of become like it's just been so overexposed, like in the promotional materials,
in the lexicon of the film.
Yeah, it's kind of like it didn't really do super much for me. Like hello, I just met you and I love you. Yes, like super funny idea, but why is it in this movie? I don't know, but sure.
Jordan Nagai, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce the last name, but that was Russell. Christopher Plummer is Charles Muntz. And
I know that name, but like, what else was he in? Like, I know, like, Christopher Plummer, classic actor. But like, I couldn't. If you ask me what else was he in, I wouldn't know what to say.
I mean, most recently he was in that movie Beginners, but like in the past he's been in like, The Man Who Would Be King, The Insider. Like honestly, haven't like seen these movies, but like it's definitely a recognizable name. And of course Bob Peterson as Doug and Alpha. He's both of them, which again like is continuing the tradition of it was pitched this way and no one could do it funnier, and yeah, I think he does an excellent job getting the vocal tendencies of a dog and how a dog would begin the I
it's
will
a really
get
novel
it and
idea.
then bring it back.
It's a very novel idea. Yeah. Again, it just goes back to I think the biggest thing of this movie is so why is this here? I think the biggest thing I could apply to most of the movie for me is like that's super funny, but why is it in this movie? Okay, but we have the talking dogs. I like Kevin,
which by the way, the fact that Russell names Kevin echoes the scene in Pete Docter's first film in which Sully names Boo Boo, to the point that you have then one character being like, "Why are then you naming it?" And it's like, "Yeah, that's the name that I just gave them," and it's like, "Oh, then that's." Showing that then you're getting attached to them. Just an interesting connection.
What if Kevin is Russell's father's name?
Oh. Yikes. I never thought of that. That's kind of sad.
Yeah. Headcanon.
And Kevin runs away. No, Dad, come back.
Who's the woman at the end? Is that Phyllis? Is Phyllis his stepmother? Is Phyllis like the nanny?
No, it's not the nanny.
Phyllis, whoever that woman was at the end looks like Russell. So is that his real mother?
I'm pretty sure that's his birth mother. No, his mom's not dead. Sorry.
Who's Phyllis?
Phyllis, I think, is the new girlfriend of the dad. I would presume.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wish I knew a little bit more about that whole situation. For someone who actually, for this context, for this film.
Sure.
I would like a little more. If it was another kind of film, if it was more like a naturalistic drama, this amount of information would probably be perfect. But for this, it's like a bubbly,
but I do
animated
really
film.
like
I kind of feel like I needed more about like what is that situation.
I do really like though how kind of like, not to say like enigmatic, but like just sort of like in the sense that it feels like you're really then talking to this person that you don't know, and you just get like a little glimpse into their home life, and then that's it. That's all then you have to go on. I love the way they do that. Phyllis isn't my mom. Oh.
But that part's done really well, yeah.
That's done really well. Okay.
I just wish I knew who Phyllis was.
Yeah.
Not even Phyllis was. I don't know. I mean, maybe I actually disagree with myself. But is there anything else specific we wanted to talk about? Because we've been going for about an hour and 30 minutes.
Oh my God! Really?
Yep.
Oh, this will be the longest episode.
Well, I mean, the last one was about an hour and a half as well.
Yeah, but we still have rankings to go through, so
yeah. Oh, well, this will be quick.
Let's see. I mean, I get just touching.
We're a little divided on the film, if you can't tell. We're a little divided.
A little bit. Just touching on again in the married life montage, how much we like sort of the way they execute this idea of life getting in the way through all these very little instances. Just then a tree falls up, we have to then repair it. Oh, the car. I mean, then I think that opening sequence. I think that opening sequence. Why it's so good. It's not just because people's like, oh, it's emotionally manipulative. I do think this is where Pixar. So you'll start to hear us as we get into these. We're gonna have a lot more debates like this. I do say, I don't want to have this discussion now. I'm just saying this because I know you disagree. So there's no point in saying you disagree because you disagree. I disagree.
Good, great, got out of the way. That this is the turn, whether or not, even if I like the movie, this is the shift in Pixar's film history where
they start to become more mature. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, not necessarily. People would say this is the turn where they start to become, it's so emotionally manipulative. Oh my God. Yes. I wouldn't say that, but I would say that this is the turn where I think sentimentality begins to take a bit more precedence over stronger characters. I think I know Brian's making faces and he's like, oh but Brian's gonna have a conniption over here, like. And here's the thing to understand, people. I really like these movies, but if I really like one of these movies and Brian's like it's garbage, I'll move on with my life. But I have a fear that Brian will stab me in my sleep tonight because I said that I complained about the adventure book. There's a good chance Brian will stab me in the middle of the night. So that's the situation. I just want you to know if
stuff I'm going to do. Stab Peter.
So if there's no episode about Toy Story 3, you know why. No, but I would say that this is a turn. Even Toy Story 3, which I love.
Yeah.
Feels a little more sentimental.
Yeah.
Than Toy Story 2.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that I think is more fair to say. Can you meet me more so
that it gets more sentimental? Sure.
That the sentimentality, if not the highest priority, takes a larger priority than it had in the past.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think
it's a positive thing, but yes. I agree.
I'm a cheeseball. I love stuff like this, but I think sometimes it takes precedence. For example, I think this goes to a good thing. And I wonder if you... I don't think you'll necessarily disagree with this.
Okay.
I think the thing I pitched for the ending is stronger character-wise, and this is more of the sentimental choice. Because it's more sentimental and emotional to have him discover this and then see the message. That's a little more sentimental. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think that's a fair point to make. And that's not disqualified. That's not a qualitative.
Because your version is more about Carl's growth, whereas what the movie is positing is
it is supposed to kind of hit you in the feels in a good way.
Yeah,
but it is more. I feel like this is the turn. This movie's kind of the turning point, and I don't think I'm alone on that. I think a lot of people would say that this is the for better or worse.
Sure.
Even people who love most people agree that Cars 2 onwards, the movies aren't necessarily as good as a whole. But even people who love Up and Toy Story 3 will say that this is the turning point where that becomes potentially a problem. Or at least it becomes more apparent. So for me, I think that this film is where the sentimentality begins to take a level of precedence that makes me slightly uncomfortable as a filmmaker. Mm-hmm. That from my aesthetic, I'm more interested in the thematic elements, the characters, and the narrative. Not so much how sad in a good way, because sad doesn't necessarily mean you're it's a negative,
which right on the other side of the coin. I think this brings them out more and unifies them more in such a way that it really feels
the most sentimental of which being Cars 2,
and they're more thematically cohesive. Well, Cars 2
is the most sentimental
of course,
the most emotional. I've not seen it. I'm getting emotional right now thinking about the fact that I have to watch it for the first time.
Cars 2 will make you cry. I won't say why, but it'll make you cry.
Yeah.
All right. So should we get on to rank? I want you to rank first.
Okay, can you pull up my list?
I'll pull up your list. Okay.
I know exactly where it's gonna go. And I almost made the controversial choice, but I was like...
Oh, good God. Tell me what the controversial choice would have been after.
Yeah. Because the controversial choice, I decided not to go with it.
This is already going to be... You should understand, Peter. It's a controversial choice already.
Yeah, no.
But it would have been an even more controversial choice.
The controversial choice, I decided not to go with it for two reasons. One, because you definitely would have stabbed me. You actually would have stabbed me. But okay. I also didn't do it because I was like, actually, no, I don't think I actually think that.
Okay.
So my ranking No, I'll just say what it is now. Okay, we're at the point where it's just too long to be like, originally it was...
okay.
Remember when there was like 2 movies that I'm adding a third one?
Yeah,
That's fine. Yeah. So from bottom to top, my rankings.
Okay.
The Incredibles.
From bottom to top?
Oh, wait, no. Oh, sorry.
Incredibles is at the bottom.
I'm sorry. It's been a very long movie. A Bug's Life, Cars, Up, WALL-E,
wow,
Toy Story, Finding Nemo. Still think I should have switched Finding Nemo and Toy Story, but I'm keeping it there.
Okay.
Finding Nemo, Toy Story 2, Monsters, Inc., Ratatouille, and The Incredibles.
I didn't expect it to be below WALL-E until we started talking about it more.
And I thought this was... Originally, I was thinking, like, oh, should this be above WALL-E? Because, like, WALL-E has that stuff I don't like. But then I started to realize the cohesion in this, for me, doesn't work. It's even more egregious than in WALL-E. And I think the thing that would have pushed up over WALL-E would have been that opening 15 minutes. Like, because it's done so well. Done so incredibly well. And I was like, would that push it over? But I went... The age-old, and this is always the tiebreaker. What would I rather sit down and watch? And after the first 15 minutes, like, even though I talk about, like, oh, I don't think the second half of WALL-E works as well, I can still watch it and I still get some enjoyment out of it. Like, after the first 15 minutes, like, I kind of, like, Up isn't really a movie I want to revisit. Like, even WALL-E, like, as much as I kind of harped on some of the problems I have with it, like, I would still really like to watch it again. Up isn't something, like... Maybe I would say, this is a big, bold statement, but, like, if I never saw Up again, I would love to watch the first 10 minutes of it.
Well, you're never going to see it again because I'm going to stab you.
Yeah, I'll know, stab me. You want to know the
controversial choice would have been, let you say it.
Yeah, the controversial choice. I think we went to the question, what would you rather watch? I was going, well, Cars is really goofy.
I will kill you.
I was saying in my head, like, at least with Cars, it's, like, there's nothing really spectacular in it. Whereas with this, there's such a spectacular thing that it makes me think about how the rest isn't spectacular for me. It doesn't work as well for me. Like, the opening works so well for me that all I can think about how it's not meeting that standard it's set. Whereas Cars is just kind of mediocre the whole way through, but is like goofy and dumb. So I was like, maybe Cars is better. But for 2 reasons, I went, no, because you know what? Up, there is, like, a really interesting thematic thing, and the opening's really good, and also Brian will stab me, so...
Peter, the most talented gymnast in the world would not be capable of such contortions and cartwheels that allowed you to even consider the possibility that Cars is above Up.
I chose against it.
Thank God.
It was only for like a split second that I thought this. Dear. Please don't stab me today. If there's no 11th episode, ladies and gentlemen, you know what happened to me.
Oh boy. Okay. My turn.
Yeah.
All right. So this is what I'll do. All right. So my rankings of the Pixar movies. Here we go. From bottom to top, A Bug's Life, Cars, Monsters, Inc., Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up, Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Toy Story 2. That's where I think I would put it. For a while, I knew, between WALL-E and Ratatouille that I would put this higher, just in the sense that, I really then, I care for the characters so much. I feel like everything was very carefully chosen. I feel there is and again, relatively speaking, in terms of peaks and valleys, that there really is it does feel very consistent for me. I know I then talked about it with WALL-E, but even more so here, just in the sense that it is all through Carl's perspective, and unlike WALL-E, it is a character who does really change, and that's like that in such a profound way. It's sort of an unorthodox, unconventional protagonist for a family film. This geriatric hero, so to speak. But with Finding Nemo and The Incredibles, they're paced so perfectly. They are so like well constructed. That's what I'll constantly say about both of those movies. That they're so like finely tuned. Like you can't like there's really like you can't like poke a hole in them. Like I understand with Up that then there's certain things. I do feel that there are moments in Up that like I feel are stronger than stuff in Nemo or Incredibles, and for a while I had put Up right below the Toy Stories. Like after like I saw it, that's where I put it. But I think like being like as like fair and
Up was above the Toy Stories.
No. Up right below the Toy Stories, above Nemo and the Incredibles. But the reason like then I just put it below is just in the sense that they are so well paced. Everything is then like very, very like finely crafted about them. Whereas Up like it's sort of then like rough around the edges, but in a way I do really like, Yeah. So like
it wears its flaws on its sleeve.
No, it doesn't wear its flaws on its sleeve. But like in a similar way, like of course. But like with Ratatouille, Wall-E, and Up,
I only heard you say one bad thing about this movie.
Three movies in a row that all then sort of then just have like I mean because you could say like stuff with like the dogs, whatever, like it's not quite as like I can point to that and be like this is then all like perfectly in sync. I think it is very much in sync and everything then works together. But like stuff in Finding Nemo is like there's nothing that anyone would question why it's there, and the same with The Incredibles. So like I guess then Up then just sort of then slots right underneath those. But the adventure was real. And it was a real adventure.
It was a real adventure. And it was real. It was really real.
Now, why did they see Star Wars in the credits during the movie? Star Wars came out in 1977. So when does this movie take place? Peter's like saying stuff like this through the whole movie. I'm like, Peter, like, Jesus Christ, it's a re-release of the movie being shown in that thing. Oh, but they didn't. It would be in 1997 when they re-released the film. No, but Peter, it's because it's just this one theater that then chose to then screen it. Oh, but it's a pretty big theater to then choose. I'm like, Peter, like, I'm gonna like take this huge theater and bash you over the head with it.
Brian loves, you have to understand, Brian loves this movie so much that any perfectly, like, not even like a joke making, like a joke that had truth in it, just like a joke, like, I'll make there's like different kinds of jokes I'll make during movies. There's the jokes that I'll make because I don't like the movie and I'm pointing out flaws, and then there'll be jokes that I make during movies I like just because it's like funny quips. I was making the second kind, like that kind of joke a lot during this movie that weren't like critiques of it, and I was like, oh, but come on! Like, there was something in the credits, like something was taped, and I was like, oh, what was that? I made some kind of joke where I was like, why would you make fun of, oh my god, this is why Pete Docter put that in the credits. like, Brian,
I didn't say that, but I love that. Because it started to get more like real over the course, because you would be like, oh, I just love these dogs and how they're like totally out of place in this movie. Like you would say stuff like that, and I was like, whoa, now this isn't witty banter anymore. Yeah, this is you actually making a criticism, and I'm gonna fight you.
There was one part when. What was it? When he was throwing the stuff out of the house after his big culminating critical choice.
Yeah.
It was like, oh yes, we need to throw all of this fatal flaw at the door. It's dragging the house down. We have to throw all these fatal flaws.
Yeah. And then the part with like when it showed like the chair still there, you were like, oh, like that thing you do. You always go like, oh, ooh. I'm like, oh yeah, ooh, because it's perfect. Just gasp at it because it's so good.
Was there anything you didn't like about this movie? Was there anything wrong about this movie?
Again, I think there is then some.
I didn't like how it
sort
ended.
Of then level of. I like honestly, I didn't really like any of it. No, there is some kernel of truth to this idea of the dogs and how much. Like I think they relish just a bit much in this whole idea of then. It's then this whole then like pack of them, and they all that like it's. Squirrel and Muntz has, and like you did bring up one interesting point as to how are the dogs still alive. There's no girl dogs. Wow.
So they're just still alive from the.
Yeah.
I guess it comes from that forgotten plot point about like the Fountain of Youth. Oh, that'd be a cute scene of them lapping up the Fountain of Youth, like little dogs.
Mm-hmm. And I guess like
that would have been. I think they should have removed. They should have taken out the dogs.
And made it the Fountain of Youth thing instead.
And just, he's like, oh, there's too many fantastical things. Yeah. Get rid of the dogs.
Mm-hmm. And I guess
I think it's more interesting.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing is, in terms of just like Russell, even though I was talking about earlier in terms of like how I like the fact that it's through Carl's perspective and we don't know too much about then where he's from, then that sort of then ends up making Russell as more like, instead of completely his own fully formed character, sort of just like someone that's there for Carl to learn stuff. Whereas in Finding Nemo, Nemo is his own character, whereas in The Incredibles, like Helen and the kids are their own characters. So like, yeah. So there you go.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, well,
all right.
Thanks everybody. This is our longest one yet. They're probably gonna get longer. Well, we'll probably agree a lot on Toy Story 3.
I hope so.
The next really, really long one is probably going to be Inside Out. Like the mammothly long one.
The next Pete Docter film.
The next Pete Docter film.
Okay.
But so thanks so much, guys, for listening. Next time you'll be joining us for our 11th episode to talk about The Toy Story 3. Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.